The next topic, we're going to talk about that Bob Iger interview.
Right.
You guys may have seen this. You may have not seen this. Are we going to watch the interview, Joe? Do you have that
Yeah,
pulled
I
up?
got it here.
Let's play a little bit of it.
Disney animation, is the loss of John Lasseter years ago, for example, been a blow that you haven't been able to recover from?
Well, first of all, the studio and its movie assets are #1 at the global box office this year so far. That said, we're extremely realistic, and I'm very objective about that business, and there have been some disappointments. We would have liked some of our more recent releases to have performed better. It's reflective, not as a problem from a personnel perspective, but I think in our zeal to basically grow our content.
Yeah.
I love what he said about the studio being #1 in the box office, the studio and its assets being #1 in the box office so far this year. It's like, a couple movies,
because you paid the most money to have it there.
Well, one movie throws a net and they catch 50 fish, right? And that's really good. Ooh. And then Disney throws 40 nets and catches 51 fish.
Right. That's
success?
Exactly. That's not success. That is manufactured numbers. It's like, of course, if you have 41 nets, sure.
Yeah, and you're catching one more fish than that one person who did a really good job of catching their fish.
We got Angel Studios who released, Sound of Freedom. That's a one net kind of situation against Disney.
No, they had
beating Disney.
Done some other things, but
Angel Studios has done stuff, but right now they're one net. They have a movie that's like hitting big,
Yeah.
Significantly to serve our mostly our streaming offerings, we ended up taxing our people.
Which, by the way, all of these except for Guardians are disliked and flops.
And I would say all of them failed.
So you got
except maybe Guardians came close to its budget.
Yeah,
but I don't know that it exceeded it.
No,
I don't know that they really made money on Guardians.
People like the second Guardians more than the third, but they don't hate the third. But
I don't hate the third.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, most people say they don't hate the third, but out of all these, like they all didn't make money, and all of them are negatives. Audience reactions.
Well, it was clear that Guardians
or disinterest.
People weren't as interested.
Right.
So a lot of people went to see it.
Right.
Because they wanted to see the third Guardians movie, but it wasn't as many as it should have been.
Exactly.
Way beyond, in terms of their time and their focus, way beyond where they had been. Marvel's a great example of that. They had not been in the TV business at any significant level. Not only did they increase their movie output, but they ended up making a number of television series. And frankly, it diluted focus and attention. And I think you're seeing that is, I think, more the cause than anything else.
And Pixar?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just dilute focus and attention.
Right.
The shows were bad.
Yeah.
Too many. Did anybody watch She-Hulk
or Secret Invasion? What have you heard about Secret Invasion?
I've heard that Secret Invasion was nothing. Boring.
Yeah, I've heard nothing about it.
Well, all of their stuff, I mean, they had WandaVision, which was pretty cool.
And it was well received.
Enjoyed it.
That was some years ago.
Loki was interesting and
pretty
well
interesting, the majority of it. But I would have to say that largely in part because of the cool concept mixed with Owen Wilson. That was kind of cool. and
people like
everything
Loki.
past that. And people like Loki and everything. But the big issue people had was, the falling in love with the female Loki, like himself. And
that kind of tracks for Loki, I guess.
And also kind of like nailing in that he's a bisexual, which I guess, is that comic lore?
That's like historically, I think Loki was kind of free. Like in Norse mythology, Loki was kind of free with whatever.
But besides that, everything Marvel did as series has been complete trash. I mean, you came out with Loki, then you dropped Hawkeye, and Hawkeye was terrible. Everything past Hawkeye has been horrible.
Everybody was looking forward to the Hawkeye show, and it was so bad.
All right, let's keep going.
I mean, we've talked through the years. There was a time when a Pixar opening was a real event. did it suffer as a result of during COVID when you were going direct to consumer? For example, I think it was Red or one of the fairly big movies went.
There were three Pixar releases in a row that went direct to streaming, in part mostly because of COVID. And I think that, may have created an expectation in the audience that they're going to eventually be on streaming and probably quickly, and there wasn't an urgency. And then I think there was you'd have to agree that there were some creative misses as well.
So that's a big statement, just saying that there were some creative misses.
It's like he were trying to blame it on COVID in the audience, and then he slips in there. Also, there's some creative.
He knows.
Shit.
No, he knows. He knows what's going on.
He definitely knows.
He might as well just say well, this show that came out way before the writer's strike, he's just blaming on the writer's strike. Be like,
the writer's strike.
Oh, the Hawkeye show? Yeah. The writers are on strike right now, so it's because of that why the Hawkeye show was so bad.
The company is 100 years old. Walt Disney went into the animation business starting with shorts in the 1920s, and obviously his big first feature with Snow White in 1937. If you look at his history, there were peaks and there were valleys. Every valley was followed by a peak. And I studied it very carefully. It's true in my predecessor Michael Eisner's days too. He had great halcyon days of beauty.
Notice he didn't say Bob Chapek, his predecessor.
Oh, he doesn't consider it. That was a sabbatical, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That was not that's a blip on the radar.
He made a political decision to leave Disney. Let Chapek take any of the fall for anything that happened during COVID stuff, because all the movies that he mentions, Chapek was in charge of.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why he's probably more willing to call it creative.
And then
misses.
after COVID, he comes back and he's saying stuff like this. He looks like a hero. I don't know.
This is his comeback interview. This is him being like, Disney was ruined while I was gone.
Where he has to address all of these things and make them right. So,
but he looks fine because he wasn't there during the time.
And he's saying a lot of good things, a lot of stuff that people want to hear. So
The Beast and Little Mermaid and Lion King and just this tremendous success. And then there's a dip. I'm not suggesting we're necessarily in that, but I'm also not suggesting that we're at a peak either, that we have some work to do there in terms of improving our creative output.
Did the loss of Lasseter, was it a blow to the company over time?
Look, there's a lot of talent at Pixar. There has been turnover as well, not just John, but there's been other turnover too. And that may have had some impact.
But your pause. Did John Lasseter die?
Let's see. Is John with Pixar?
No, I don't think he died. He was like Me Too'd, wasn't he?
Let's see.
I'm not sure.
People at the company were saying that he was being sexually harassing people with no proof, mind you.
Right.
And he was fired, and they haven't made a good movie since.
Right. So he hasn't died yet. He's 66 years old though.
I'm not saying that there's not issues often with people in power, people in charge. There are, but I think a lot of the credibility, especially the Me Too movement, has been called into question, and this kind of just firing people with no trial, no evidence, no, it's just guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
I think that's probably a lot of where we're losing stuff. John Lasseter brought so much to this company.
Yeah. Yeah. He was out. I think he was out at what year was he out at? It says in Wikipedia, I think he left Pixar in 2018. So yeah, a handful of years ago, and I don't know what was coming out with Pixar 2018, but let's keep going.
Confident that the production of Pixar animation, for example, and the Disney studio overall is going to continue to be strong.
Correct.
Marvel and Star Wars.
He's just flattering him. Continue to be strong. Like, what are you referring to? Like the past 20 years or the past 5? Because the past 5 have been catastrophic.
Have not been strong.
too much? I mean, you almost indicated kind of it's been a little much. Do you pull back in a way?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah, you pull
to me.
back not just to focus, but it's also part of our cost containment initiative. Spending less,
that's very important.
The cost containment.
Cost containment
that means
initiative.
Stop giving all of our money away. We have to contain the money.
They've had multiple business meetings about the cost containment initiative.
Right.
They're recruiting like the Avengers initiative. They're trying to get people on this team to contain costs.
It's funny.
Side note, did you guys see that Steven Crowder video about the McKinsey & Company? Have you seen that?
No.
So they're big business and they've worked with Disney in the past, but McKinsey & Company is basically a company that helps you with your company. It is big business corruption at the highest scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if they're back doing business with them for this containment.
That would track.
Wait,
McKinsey Company, kind of like a
McKinsey Company basically comes in, you pay them tons of money. They come in, they look at your books, and they say, you need to fire 10,000 people to keep
kind of like the Parks and Rec situation.
Sort of, but they're big business like crazy. Mm-hmm. It's really dark. You should watch the Steven Crowder video. Whether you agree with him politically or not, he did an interesting video this week exposing McKinsey Company. So check it out. But let's finish this
on what we make and making less.
Now, of course, it used to be that some of that stuff would then go
and spending less and making less. Right?
So focusing on trying to make better stuff for less money and less stuff.
Right.
I think and making less.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, it's been a little much. Do you pull back in a way?
Yes. Not just to focus, but it's also part of our cost containment initiative. Spending less, spending less on what we make and making less.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a novelty idea these days.
Of course,
Disney.
It used to be that some of that stuff would then go to Netflix and you'd make a lot of money from selling it in different distribution channels. Now it all just goes to Disney Plus. Do you ever think about
how
much money? Shouldn't have done that?
Interviewing him. I was going to say, what? This guy is just breezing past things that he should maybe be digging.
He's a CNBC news anchor.
I noticed that after I was
he's a no important guy.
Not that you shouldn't have done it, that there's still... I mean, the old model worked pretty well.
It's kind of interesting because I think if we did, the old model worked when it was a blend of basically business models. It wasn't the only model. The licensing model was part of a collection of models. I think if we hadn't done it, everyone would be saying, why isn't Disney going to the streaming business? And as it turns out, I think we made the right decision there to go into that business. It will be a growth business for us. We will turn it around. I'm confident of that. It will become profitable, and it will deliver growth for the company. And it will be an important business because that direct-to-consumer model where you have a relationship with your consumers, which we lacked, frankly, as a company, except in our parks and resorts business, that will be of value.
All of that is super important. He just admitted that Disney Plus isn't profitable.
And he also admitted that they have not been connecting with the audience.
And they have a strained relationship with their audience and accusing them of being, racists and things like that. But
no kidding.
No, this is super important that he is admitting that Disney Plus isn't profitable. Right. When people have been gaslighting the public about Disney Plus for a long time and saying, no, it's super profitable. It's super profitable. It's not profitable.
Yeah, no, it's everybody, we have the numbers, right? Because of online. We can just go and see, this is not working. This is not profitable. And then a bunch of articles come out and say, everyone who's saying that it's not profitable are, racist and wrong. And then it comes out, he actually just admits it. This is propaganda being straightened out.
An old white guy is racist?
No. They're calling us racist.
They're calling everyone who says that this Disney's not working and they're failing, and basically racist, or just basically all the ways to say you're wrong and to get the attention off of them being a failure.
But isn't it interesting though? Isn't it interesting though that people have been calling out Disney for so many years, and it's finally reached a point where they have to admit stuff
The CEO.
that we've been saying for a long time, that people on the internet have been talking about and been upset about for a long time. They are finally admitting guilt.
Right. And, and Bob Iger.
And it's barely at that.
And in some ways, I respect it, but it's been a long time coming.
It's clearly a business move.
It's a business move.
They have to do it. They have to admit the guilt. They have to say, we're going to pivot. We know that we're doing the wrong thing. We know that we're not connecting with our audiences.
Yeah. Can we just, in this video, just like put a video of this interview and then just show Ross being like, pivot.
What's that? Friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's from Friends.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's one of them trendy memes where they're carrying a couch.
We do need a put the pivot in there, Joe. Do that.
Freaking do not just give me editing assignments.
No.
Please put the pivot meme in there.
Whatever.
Just edit it in.
Whatever. There's
we'll clap right here so that you know exactly where to put the Ross.
No, you're drawing too much attention to it.
Good grief. Although it's a business move, it is a step in the right kind of business moves they need to be making, right?
Yeah,
as opposed to what they have been doing. And that fluffer of an anchor was not quizzing him hard. I think he was nervous.
Did you call him a fluffer?
I did.
That's funny.
Nothing against the guy, but he was softballing all of his answers. Bob Iger is the one who outed himself and went harder on the company.
It was so interesting how these questions are so easy to dodge and avoid, and Bob's just like, no,
Bob's
you're right.
Taking it darker, right?
Right, but even this is going further. Even news channels admitting that there's something wrong because the news channels have been not doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even again, when they're admitting that they're wrong, they're still lowballing these questions towards them. Like, how do we maybe if you're wrong, maybe if you guys aren't maybe making so much money, maybe as you kind of were, but now we're
like, do you think that you will continue to be a serious success in the future?
Maybe to get success and money,
right?
And can maybe we rely on maybe some good articles about maybe us too.
That's the thing. Like all the things that the audience, we feel like we need to hear coming from Disney, Bob Iger brought up. He was not asked those questions by the reporter, right? Yeah. And I think it's probably just nervousness because Bob Iger and Disney they have such a big reputation. He doesn't want to be offensive. And they have such a big, media influence, not just with the front-facing Disney. The Disney company owns everything. They own major networks like what is it? ESPN is all the sports, and
they're merging a lot of stuff. Yeah,
they own a lot of parts of a lot of places like 20th Century Fox. They own so much, and they have so much in everything that it's not just Disney. It's control over like the entire media system. I mean, CNBC might be partially owned by Disney, and that might be why they are actually getting an interview.
Yeah, I'm looking up this now. It just says division of NBC Universal News.
CNBC or CNBC.
CNBC is part of the NBC Universal News Group.
Wait, so it's Universal, not Disney?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting that they would be talking to Bob Iger if they're going to. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it's news.
But yeah, that's overall. I think that is a good sign that Bob's trying to get, even if he doesn't believe it or feel like he owes anything. At least he's saying the right stuff, and maybe they're going to steer the content that way.
I'm curious, like what people think about this. I definitely, whether this is made into like a reel or just a clip or something,
right?
Or if you're just watching the podcast and you've gotten to this point, I'm super interested to see what you guys have to say. What do you think of this interview? Do you believe him? Do you trust him? I don't. I don't trust the guy. Like as far as entertainment, I guess maybe he maybe he knows the business, but
Right.
there's just so much history with Iger that makes me wary.